Hey everybody, Cinema Sickness here again to talk to you about what I bought and what I watched today. And today, head out to Big Lots where I definitely had a great surprise, got a ton of great titles, so let's take a look at everything I got. Every title you're about to see here I paid only $3 a piece for, and the first one I grabbed was this MGM movie collection. This comes with Deal and 52 Pickup. Now Deal, I don't really have much of an interest in. I'm not sure if it's going to be any good. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But the real reason why I definitely want to pick this one up is for 52 Pickup. A movie I've had on VHS for a while now. I've definitely wanted to replace it. Never come across the movie, at least not for a good price. When I came across this set today for only $3, I figured that was a great deal, definitely a steal, and I had to get it. The next title I picked up was a complete first season of Till Death. Now this here is a blind buy. It's a show that I have heard of. I do remember when the show was on air, but it was something I've never watched, know very little about. But it does get great reviews, and for $3, I figured I'd pick it up and check it out. Then I picked up two Jackie Chan movies, and the first one was 1911. A Jackie Chan film that I've actually never heard of. This is one of his newer films, and it gets great reviews. So the reviews, plus it being a Jackie Chan film, meant I had to get it. And the same thing goes for Little Big Soldier. Another Jackie Chan film that I've actually never heard of, but another one that gets great reviews, so for $3, I had to grab it. Then the last two titles I picked up today are definitely the scores of today. Two titles I've been on the hunt for some time now, and the first one was Secret Origins, the story of DC Comics. This is definitely something I've wanted to see ever since it first came out in 2010. I'm not really a comic book guy as far as reading comic books, but I am interested in comic books. Obviously, love comic book movies, so this is definitely something I wanted to pick up and check out, and I watched it tonight, so we'll talk about it in a few minutes. Then I saved the best for last. This has been a title I've been looking for about 12 years now. This movie came out in 2001, which is the last time I had seen this movie, and I've been on the hunt for it ever since, but I never come across this title used or even new in stores. I never see this title anywhere. The only place I can ever find it is online, and it's always way too expensive. So coming across it today for only $3 was definitely an exciting moment. I was very happy to come across this, and that was Session 9, which I also watched tonight, so we'll talk about it soon. So that's it for what I bought today, so now onto what I watched. And like I said, the first title I checked out today was Secret Origins, the story of DC Comics. And as I mentioned, I don't read comics. I have nothing wrong with comics. I think they're great, but I've never really been into reading them. Had a few as a kid, but for the most part, never got into collecting them, and never really cared much about comics. But I've always been a huge fan of comic-related TV shows and movies. Ever since I was a little kid, been a huge fan, still am today. So I love learning about where these great TV shows and movies come from the comics. And this is a very well done and a great documentary. Though I was thinking to myself while watching it that it could have been longer, but I realized I say that pretty much about every documentary, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that I'm a complete nerd when it comes to learning. I love learning things. I'm the kind of guy who, when you go to a historical place and somebody's giving you a tour, they say, does anybody have questions? I raise my hand and ask about 20. I just want to know everything. I want to learn. I want to know everything there is about everything. So when I watch a documentary, I have questions. I want to know more. I want them to dig deeper into what they're talking about. So an hour and a half documentary that, hell, for me could have been 10 hours long, and I would have been absolutely fine with that. But in the hour and a half they worked with, they did a great job. A fantastic story from everything from basically the very beginnings of not necessarily just DC Comics, but just comics in general, up to around 2010. So a great watch, something I would definitely recommend, even if you're not into comics. If you just like, again, comic book related, maybe cartoons, TV series, movies, it is something you definitely want to check out. They actually do cover that a bit. It's not just 100% comic books themselves. They do talk about some of the TV series like Smallville and Superman, some of the animated series and the 60s Batman. They do talk about all that as well. So definitely something I'd recommend picking up. A fantastic documentary, and definitely worth $3 if you come across it at Big Lots. And the last title I watched tonight was, like I said, Session 9. So excited to finally have this within my collection. The fact that I'm holding this right now just makes me so happy. Like I said, the last time I saw this was back in 2001 when I first started collecting movies, and I had wanted to add it to my collection ever since, but I just never come across this title. I only ever seen it online, and it's always way too much, never goes on sale, Anytime some website's having a sale, the price on this just is, it never budges, it doesn't drop. And it's been driving me nuts. So 12 years later, I finally get my hands on it. So of course I had to watch it again tonight. Love this film. It's so just creepy. Although, maybe I'm a little bit biased. For those of you who do not know, the house I'm in right now is actually the house I grew up in. When my father passed away, he left the house, and my brother and I, my wife and I moved into the house. So I've been living in this town all but 4 years of my life. I've been living in this house my whole life. And the next town over is actually an abandoned insane asylum, just like the one featured in this movie. In fact, in 2001, I was actually questioning whether or not this film was actually shot at that abandoned insane asylum because it looked so similar, but it's actually not the same one, but looks exactly the same. So maybe a little bit biased that I grew up with one so close, and during high school, my friends and I used to sneak up there and go in. The place is just so creepy and disturbing. Of course, all my life I've been hearing just ghost stories about the place, so watching a movie that takes place in an abandoned insane asylum just kind of, you know, hits home for me. It seems all so familiar. So again, maybe I am a little bit biased, but I personally thought this movie was just creepy as all hell and such an enjoyable film. It's one of those movies where you do have to pay attention a little bit. It's about these guys, they're in a insane asylum basically to, like a hazmat crew. They're getting rid of all the asbestos and all the dangerous things floating around the air because they're fixing this place up. And creepy things start to happen, and this one guy, he starts listening to these tapes, different sessions, obviously getting up to session 9, the last session. He's listening to these crazy sessions of this girl who, she did something wrong, you don't quite know what's happening. You end up finding out she has these split personalities, you end up hearing from them, which is just creepy in general to begin with. Then, as time goes on, you find out that she, and this is a spoiler here, so if you haven't seen this movie, maybe stop listening now, but you end up finding out that she has this one personality that basically drove her to kill her family, and it's such a creepy moment in the movie when you hear, because every time she's a split personality, she's talking to voices, and the voice of this guy named Simon, who basically told her to kill everybody, it's such a creepy voice. You find out that this character Simon, he basically, it seems that he's like kind of living in with other people, not just this girl, but I guess he's been living in other people throughout God knows how long, and he ends up living in one of the characters in this story who ends up actually killing his family, and you find out at the end that he's done that, and then he goes and kills the rest of his crew. So everything kind of links back to each other. Just such a fantastic, creepy, and disturbing as all hell movie. And like I said, it does hit a home run for me simply, you know, it hits home simply because I live so close to a insane asylum. In fact, in my condo that I lived in before here for the last 4 years, when you walk out of the house, you could see up on the hill in the next town, you can actually see the insane asylum because it is up on a very high hill. So, you know, even coming out of my condo every day, I can look over and see it. It's just, if you've grown up near an insane asylum, this is one to check out. But even if you haven't, it's still something to see. It's creepy, a great, great movie. The fact that this is actually $3 right now at Big Lots, I recommend everybody heading out to your local Big Lots, trying to pick this one up. This is the only copy of it they had at mine. I have heard that Big Lots have been getting some new titles. That's why I headed out there. And unfortunately, it seemed like all the new titles I heard about that they've gotten in, they had maybe 1, maybe 2 copies. So I don't think they've been getting in a ton of copies of the new titles they've been getting in. So I recommend heading out there soon, maybe tomorrow. Go out there, or even today or something. Head out to your Big Lots and look for this title. Pick it up for $3. This is certainly a steal. If you're a fan of horror movies, you'll want to get this one in your collection. It's creepy, it's disturbing, it's a lot of fun. Session 9 is fantastic. So that's it for what I bought and what I watched today. Definitely got a great haul today from my local Big Lots. I'm very excited about all those titles. And watching Secret Origins, the story of DC Comics. Loved it, thought it was a great documentary. Love learning about the history of DC Comics and just comic books in general. It's a great one to watch. I'd highly recommend it. Even if you're not into comic books, it's still very interesting and a great watch. Again, if you're into you know, comic book movies or TV shows or anything like that, or, you know, Batman animated series, something like that. If you're a big fan of those, it's worth watching because you will learn a little bit about that as well, and you'll find out where those characters came from. And of course, watching Session 9, brilliant, loved it, creepy, so much fun. I've been a big fan ever since I first saw it in 2001, and the fact that I actually got my hands on today is great, especially for only $3. I assumed that'd be one of those movies that someday I'm just going to suck it up and pay, you know, $15 for. I figured I would never come across it for anything cheap. But brand new for $3 was a steal. Very happy I got to watch it again tonight, and I would highly recommend it to you all, especially you horror fans. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to see what I bought when I watch tomorrow. See ya.